Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Matt's going to be teaching you how to play Toss a Coin to Your Witcher. So this is a pretty popular song at the moment because the series just came out on Netflix about a couple weeks ago, and I gotta say that the song is super cool, but when you get rid of the vocal and you make it a fingerstyle instrumental piece like our arrangement, it takes on a much more haunting vibe. And I think that's what the standout of this arrangement is. It's just, it has such a cool haunting vibe to it. Now, I did get a chance to play through the arrangement this afternoon, and I gotta say that it's perfect for the seasoned beginners. So it's not a super duper hard fingerstyle piece to play, but it's gonna be a good challenge for pushing those of you who have been playing fingerstyle for a little bit to get to that next level. Now, let's go ahead and talk about this lesson. So in this video, you're going to learn the entire arrangement, but if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, you can click this link or go to the site rockclass101.com and do a search for Toss a Coin to Your Witcher. Now on that page will also be the on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a really great asset in learning this song that much easier. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Matt to teach you how to play this, and then I'll see you at the end of the video.
This week we're going to work on a solo rendition of Toss a Coin to Your Witcher off the new Netflix hit show, The Witcher. I'm a big fan of the games and was really excited when the song came out and knew I had to learn it on the ukulele. So here's the arrangement that I've created for it. Let's go ahead and dive right into the verse. And what you're going to notice with this song is it's fingerstyle. We're going to be using fingerpicking. And I like to use 4-finger picking throughout this tune. That means the thumb on the G string, index finger on the C string, middle finger here on the E, and ring on the A. This arrangement's also made for high G ukulele, so you want to make sure that you're playing with a high G to get the best effect because we use a lot to create that kind of Kanile'a style. It's a lot of fun. But let's go ahead and start here right at the beginning with the verse. We're going to start by plucking all 4 strings of an E minor chord. To do this, we're going to have a ring finger here on the 4th fret of the C string, middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the E string, and index finger here on the 2nd fret of the A. Pluck all 4. Then we're going to play just the C string. Then we're going to play 3 on the E, and then we're going to take our index finger and move it to 2 on the E and take our middle finger off to play that 2. Then we're going to take that finger off for open on the E. Then we're going to take off our ring finger and place our index on 2 of the C. And that completes that first measure. So that first measure should sound something like this in time. Really, really slow though. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going right into the second measure. This index finger here on 2 of the C is just going to move down to 1 on the C string, and the middle finger is going to come up to 2 on the G to create this A/C sharp chord. We're going to pluck the G, C, and E strings together here, and then just the C string. Then take the ring finger, add it on the 3rd fret of the E string, play that, then open on the A, the 3 on the E again, and slide that ring finger down to 2 on the E, and that finishes that measure. So in time, measure 2 should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the first 2 measures together should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going in right into measure 3, familiar chord, we're going to be playing a C chord. All that we're going to be doing is leaving our strings open and plucking the G, C, and E strings all together. We'll then follow that up with our middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the A string, then the open E, then open on the A twice, and then 2 with the middle finger here on the A string. So measure 3 is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going right into measure 4. This is a pretty tricky measure. In fact, I think it's one of the most difficult of the song because of the rapid succession of these pull-offs. We're going to start by making this D sus4 chord. The way we do that is our index finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string and our ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the E. Now, the reason why we're using our ring finger here is because our middle finger needs to be ready to go on the 2 of the E string. Because you'll notice we're going to pluck the G, C, and E strings together, and then we're going to immediately have to do a pull-off down to the 2 on the E string. And then that is going to pull off to open on the E string. So it's immediately going to go. But it's a really cool sound. If you do it really quick, it sounds kind of like that lute from The Witcher. So measure 4, that first part is then going to have 2 on the C, and then open E, open A, and then 3 on the E. So we just reapply that ring finger, followed by the open A. So measure 4 in time should be something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now measure 3 and 4 together should sound something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we go into measure 5. Pretty straightforward overall. We're going to play an A chord again. So we're going to middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, index finger here on the 1st fret of the C. We're going to strum through, but then we're going to do a hammer on with our ring finger to the 2nd fret of the A string. And then from this point, we're actually going to do an artificial harmonic. Here at Rock Class, we actually just did a course that covers a lot involving harmonics, so please check that out if you aren't sure how to do harmonics. But this is an artificial harmonic where we're still fretting the 2 here. We're going to use our index finger, go all the way up to fret 14, and do an artificial harmonic for that last little part. So that measure 5, should sound something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going right into measure 6 now, just 2 pretty simple chords. The first one being a B minor chord. Just take your index finger, bar all the way across the 2nd fret, strum all the way through with your thumb, or pick all 4. Both work here. And then the next chord is a B7. All that we do is take that middle finger and add it to the 3rd fret of the C string and pluck or strum all 4 of those. So measure 6 in time is something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. And 5 to 6 should sound something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now from this point, it's going to continue with the verse, so it's actually going to repeat. But we're going to add a layer here. So if you listen to the original recording, or if you've watched the show, you'll know that the bard that sings the song is playing with a lute. And we're playing and singing at the same time on the ukulele, but I wanted to capture some of that lute sound. So you'll notice that there's going to be essentially a couple different parts taking place. When you look at measure 7, as you look through the rest of the song, you'll notice that it's almost entirely running eighth notes for the rhythm, which means that every single beat or half of a beat in the measure is going to be filled by something that we're picking. There are a couple times where this isn't exactly that way, but for the most part, it's running eighth notes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So as we look at these measures, we want to make sure that we're playing every note exactly right. And it's a bit of a finger twister, but let's go ahead and jump in to measure 7. So measure 7 now, we're going to play 4 on the C string with our ring finger. And then we're going to play 2 on the A. And we're going to build this little shape. We're going to go C, A, C, A. So after we play that, we're then going to play the C and the A together with the A coming open. And then open on the G. 2 on the E with our index finger. Then open on the E. So that measure, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into measure 8, our index finger is going to go here to the 1st fret of the C string. We're going to pluck our C and E strings together. And then we're going to add our middle finger on 2 of the A. C string again. Then we're going to take that middle finger off and play the open A. Then we're going to play the open G and open C together. Then the open A, open G, then middle finger is going to go to 2 on the E. So that in time, 2 and 3 and 4 and. And now going right into measure 9, it's going to open up. We're going to play all open on the G, C, and E strings. And then we're going to play 2 on the A, open C, open A, open C and open A together, open A again, 2 on the A, the middle finger, then open G. So measure 9 in time, 2 and 3 and 4 and. And going right into measure 10 here, we're going to go 2 on the C with the index finger, open E, 2 on the C, open E, 2 on the C, open A together, open G, open A, and then 2 on the A, and it's really, really important that this 2 on the A, you use your ring finger to play. And we'll get to why in just a moment when we go to the next measure. But let's go ahead and play measure 10 in time. Should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, when you're playing this, you might notice it sounds like a lot of noise, and it's because we're playing it so slow. And one of the things that makes this sound so good is when you speed it up. So work on each measure individually, nice and slow, gradually increase the speed. I'm going to play through now measures 7, 8, 9, and 10 in time so that you can hear how they fit together. Still going pretty slow, but you can start to get a feel for it. So starting with 7, going 8, 9, and 10, the ones we just worked on. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now going right into 11. 11's really, really easy, but it only sounds good because of the ring finger here on 2 on the A string from the previous measure on 10. We want to make sure that that last note we play loud and we let ring, because then as we go into this next measure here of 11, we're going to fret an A chord, index finger here on 1 of the C, middle finger here on 2 of the G, but still holding that ring finger here, 2 of the A. So we want to let that 2 ring, and then 1 on the C, 2 on the G, or 2 on the G, 1 on the C, 2 on the G, repeated 4 times. So it goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Really straightforward. That measure in time, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going right into 12, we're going to bar across the 2nd fret in its entirety with the index finger. Play the C string, and then the A string, and then the C string, and then the G string. And then we're going to add our middle finger here to 3 on the C string. Play that. 2 on the E, 2 on the A, 2 on the G, which are all built in. So you see that we're just starting with that all 2, adding that middle finger here on 3. So measure 12 in time is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And that completes sort of the second little run through of the verse now with this added layer. So that we can hear it, let's hear measures 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 all together. Should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I just made a little mistake there on 10. The reason is I was getting all psyched up for that ring finger on 2 of the A, right? I really want to make sure that you guys know that that one's important, so much so that I made a little mistake there myself. So that we can hear it again from 10, should be something like this. just so that we can hear the whole thing again, should sound like this. 2, 3, 4. Really cool. We're starting to build a little bit of momentum here as we play it. So now we go on to measure 13, which 13 is pretty much exactly the same as measure 7, which is pretty nice. It's the same thing as we go through, and you'll notice that it's going to be very similar as we're playing through these parts. In fact, 7, 8, and 9 are exactly the same as 13, 14, and 15. Very convenient. So 13 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... just like measure 7, right? And then we're going to go on to measure 14, which you'll notice is exactly the same as measure 8. And then we go on to measure 15. Now, at this point, measure 15 is a little bit different as we go through. So what we want to do on 15 is we're going to start with the 2 open strings, the open C and open E strings together, then the open G, and then open C, open E, open E, C, and A strings, and then open A, 2 on the A, and open G. So it's very similar to the measure earlier, just a little bit different. So 15 in time should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... As we go into 16, 16 is a really cool measure. It's different than measure 10, the one that it's similar to, because it's going to introduce this little leading tone line in the bass. It sounds really good. So 16 is going to start with the index finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string. Open E, 2 on the C again, open E. We're going to leave our index finger here on 2, and we're going to stretch our pinky out to 5 on the A and pluck our C and A strings together. Then 2 on the A with the middle finger. Then we're going to slide the index finger up to 3 on the C and open the A string and play those two, the C and A, together. And then we're going to play an open G. So measure 16 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And that concludes this sort of third run through of the verse. It's an abbreviated one with these 4 bars. So let's go ahead and listen to this, measures 13, 14, 15, and 16, hearing the similarities between 13 and 14 that we had to 7 and 8, and how you can hear that theme sort of repeating. Starting at 13 should sound something like this, nice and slow. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now we go into measure 17, and what's cool is measure 17 is, somewhat familiar at this point because it's very similar to the other themes that we've been playing, but there are some small variations that we want to pay extra close attention to. So we're going to start with the same chord, ring finger here on 4 of the C, index here on 2 of the A. Start with playing the C, A, C. So far so good, but then we play the open E, followed by the open A, so taking that index finger off. Open G, add that index on 2 of the E, and then open E. So measure 17, just that one note difference to what we played in measure 7 or in measure 13 with that open E string. So 17 in time should be something like this, 2 and 3 and 4 and... And now we go on to measure 18. Same sort of deal that we've been playing. Index here on 1 of the C, play the C and E together. Open A, 1 on the C, open on the E, open on the G, open on the A, open on the G, index here, middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the E string. So we hold that 1 with the index finger the whole way through, and we just add that middle finger on 2 of the E at the very end. Everything else is open strings or the 1. So 18 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going right into 19 now. Measure 19 is going to open everything up. Play open on the C and the E, and then open G, open C, open E, open on the C and the A together, open on the A again, 2 on the A, and then open on the G, which you'll notice is exactly the same as measure 15 that we played earlier in the song. So measure 19 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now, from here, we're going to go on to measure 20. And on measure 20, we're going to be playing the 2 on the C, open on the E, 2 on the C with the index finger, just like we have been throughout the tab as we've gone to this section. It's the same as measure 16, for instance. But it does get a little bit different as we go through because we're going to play the C and the A together, open G, then open on the A, and then the very last note of measure 20, we're going to play 2 on the A. But we have to make sure that we take our index finger and bar it all the way across the 2nd fret to play just that 2 on the A. And the reason for that, we'll find out as we go on to the next measure in 21. But for now, just trust me that full bar just for that last 2. So measure 20 in time should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And the reason is if we look at 21, we're going to pluck our G on 2, and we're going to pluck our C on 2, and then for the first time, we're going to break away from our finger picking and we're going to strum. We're going to take this chord and we're going to strum down, down, up, down, up. And that concludes the last run through of the verse. So measure 21 should sound something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And so that you can hear that last little run through of the verse, here's measures 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And you want to be really careful with that bar to not let you not have it mess up the timing. It just threw me off a little bit there because, again, it's so easy to get psyched out before it. So measure 20 into 21 again with that bar. It should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Pretty cool, right? So here is what the whole verse should sound like, because from here we go into the chorus. Now there's multiple little run-throughs of the verse with small variations, but this whole section, measure 1 all the way through measure 21, is the verse. So I'm going to play it nice and slow so that you can hear it and follow along. Should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... From here, we go on into the chorus, which is the name of the song, Toss a Coin to Your Witcher, O Valley of Plenty. So we're going to start here with an E minor chord. Middle finger is going to be on the 3rd fret of the E string, with the ring finger on the 4th fret of the C and the index on the 2nd fret of the A on each side of it. We're going to start with a down strum with our index finger. And this is the last strum for a little while here. We're then going to go back to the finger picking, play open on the E, so remove the middle finger, play open on the G. Then we're going to play 3 on the C with our our middle finger, taking our ring finger off of the C string. And we're going to play the 2 on the A still, so that one doesn't move from the previous chord. Then we're going to play open on the A, open on the G. So that first measure of the chorus, measure 22, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into 23, we're going to take that middle finger off and replace it with the index finger on the 2nd fret of the C string. We're going to play the C string and the A string together. Then the middle finger here on the 2 of the A, open on the G, 2 on the A. Then we're going to slide our index down to 1 on the C and take our middle finger off. Play the C string 1, A string open, open G. Middle finger goes here to 2 of the E. And then, to complete that measure, we're going to slide that middle finger up to 3 on the E, take off the other fingers, and pluck our G, C, and E strings together. So 23 should sound something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now as we go into 24, we're going to take everything off to start. We're going to play open on the G, and then the C and the E together. Open on the G. Middle finger is going to go to 2 on the A. We're going to pluck that. Then do a pull off to the open A, followed by the open G. And then the 2 on the E. And you can use your middle finger there. And then open on the G string again. So 24 in time should sound something like this, nice and slow. 2 and 3 and 4 and... So we go on to 25, which is the end of the first little run through of the chorus. It's going to repeat from here. We're going to play open on the C and the E string on the and of 1. Then we're going to do this little riff, which is going to start with the index finger here on 2 of the C. And we're going to hammer onto 4 on the C with the ring finger. Then play 3 on the E. Then open on the A. And open on the G. Notice the 3 on the E is the middle finger. And the 4 was with the ring, setting up an E minor chord, which is what it happens to go to on 26. So 25 in time should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now 22 through 25, so the first little part of the chorus, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And now we go right into 26, which we're going to pluck that E minor that we were just fretting from before. We're going to play the open G, and then open E, open G again, which you can see is starting back over with the 3 and the 2. The only difference between 26 and 22, which we just played a moment ago, are a couple filler notes. You'll notice that this one has a note on every single 8th note, while on 22, it had a couple of little pauses. It's just to add some growth to it, some depth. So 26 should look something like this. Play the E minor, open G, open E, open G, 3 and 2 together, open G, open A, open G. In time, that should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... We go to 27, and what's cool about 27 is it starts off the same as 23. So the index finger here on 2 of the C and the open A. And then the 2 on the A with the middle. Then the open G, and then the 2 on the A. So that's all the same as 23, but then it gets a little more spicy. We're going to stretch our pinky all the way out to fret 5, and our index finger is going to go down to fret 1. Huge stretch. Takes a lot of practice just to get the hand to open up here, but it's just like touching your toes or doing some yoga pose. You'll get it with practice. We're going to pluck the C and A together, and you just listen, it's a funky sound, but that tension is what really makes this sound cool, because after we play that, we're then going to go down to 2 on the A with the middle finger, followed by open on the A. And then the last note of that measure is the ring finger coming up to 4 on the G, taking the index off. So a doozy of a measure, but it should sound like this. Measure 27, 2 and 3 and 4 and... As we go now into measure 28, it's going to be building off of that 4 on the G string with the ring finger. We're then going to add the middle finger here on 3 of the C and the index here to 2 of the E to make a B7 chord. We're going to start the measure by playing the 3 on the C and then the 2 on the E. And we're going to finish the measure by doing a down, down, up on this 4, 3, 2, 0 B7 chord. So measure 28 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now, going into measure 29 here, it is a little tricky because we're going to a different B7 chord. And we're going to have to move everything. Our fingers have to make a big motion. So the thing that I recommend for practicing this is build it multiple ways. So what I mean is we're going to start with the first way. Take your index finger, place it on the 4 of the G string, ring finger here on 6 of the C, middle finger here on 5 of the E, and pinky here on 6 of the A. And that's your B7, right? So you can go index, ring, middle, pinky, index, ring, middle, pinky, placing them one after another, developing the muscle memory. But here's the trick to being able to do this fast, because it normally goes, it's going between that chord this really quickly. So to help build up the speed, build it index, ring, middle, pinky, but then flip-flop it. Do pinky, middle, ring, index. It feels so weird, so bizarre if you haven't done that before because you're so used to building it this way. But by building it in reverse, you're developing the muscle memory in 2 different ways, which gets you closer to just all 4 fingers going on the point at the same time. This works for any chord progression you're working on, not just here in this song. It's a really valuable skill that's helped me transition between difficult chords by developing a multitude of muscle memories. So anyways, once we're at this B7 chord, we're going to go down, up, down, up, down. So all with the index finger. And then play the 6 on the A all by itself. So measure 29 is pretty straightforward for the right hand. In time, it should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And so that we can hear those 2 measures in time, here's 28 into 29, something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And now our final 2 measures of the song, we're going to go to a high E minor. We're going to take the index bar all the way across the 7th fret of the C, E, and the A, leaving the G string open. Strum through all 4 strings. And I like to use my thumb for this one instead of pick it. And then we're going to wait 3 beats, and we're going to do the riff, a really cool riff. If you watch the show, you'll notice that the lute player, Dandelion, is going to play a really cool little riff here. And the way that we're going to play it on our high G ukulele is we're going to start with 2 on the A string with the index. Then we're going to do a pull-off. Then we're going to play the open G. And then we're going to use our middle finger here on 6 of the C string. That's going to give us the F sharp note that falls into place. And what's fun is if you do the pull off and as you play the G, place the middle finger, you can build up a lot of speed and you can hear how the notes ring into each other. It's using that Kanile'a style. So measure 30 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And then I played the first note of the next measure, because here on 31, the next note after the 6 on the C, it's going to be open on the E string. And then to finish the song, we're going to use natural harmonics on fret 7, which is a challenging place to get it. I like to actually use my thumb on this side of the 7 to get that for 2 reasons. One is I find it be a little bit easier to make it ring than I do down here. Just a little more consistent. And 2, the more important reason, it looks cool. It looks cool to cross over and do that, right? It's just a cool look. So measure 31 in time, very simple. 2 and 3 and 4 and with those harmonics. So measure 30 into 31 for the ending 2 measures should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and pretty cool, right? So that you can hear the whole thing, though, here's the entire B section, the entire chorus of this song. Nice and slow, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And there you have it. Toss a coin to your witcher. Absolutely awesome song. I was not expecting my favorite tune of 2019 to come from a TV show on Netflix at the very end of the year, but here it is. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, check out the course here on Rock Class that involves harmonics, both artificial as well as natural, so that you can get better practice for what's being used here. And I'll see you guys next time for the next tutorial here. Can't wait for it. Take it easy.
All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed learning this tune. It's got such a cool haunting vibe as an instrumental piece, so just a lot of fun to play. Now, I do want to remind you, if you want to get the tabs to print out and keep for your records, you can do so by clicking this link or going to the site, rockclass101.com, and doing a search for Toss a Coin to Your Witcher. And also don't forget that that really cool interactive tab player is on that page as well, so you can highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down to any speed, all that fun jazz that makes learning this tune that much easier. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.